James Dean, the new promising actor, had now become James Dean, the new American Idol. No one ever captured the feelings of being young better than he did. The insecurities, the confusion, the loneliness. He expressed the anguish of growing up as no one had done before.
If I had one day when I didn't have to be all confused and I didn't have to feel that I was ashamed of everything, if I felt that I belonged someplace, you know?
James Dean was gone, but he wasn't forgotten. For 3 years following his death, letters addressed to Jimmy outnumbered the fan mail of any living Hollywood star. A further tribute was paid to James Dean when Tokyo businessman Seita Onishi erected a memorial near the crash site. The stainless steel monument reflects the actual site of James Dean's death. Mr. Onishi has also recently commissioned the creation of a new and massive 130-ton stone sculpture in his continuing work for the immortalization of James Dean. In New York, Dean fan David Lohr conducts a walking tour to show people the places where Jimmy lived and played. A few years ago, when Mr. Lohr started the tour, 8 people showed up. This year, there were more than 100. Each year, Jimmy's fans continue to come to his hometown on the anniversary of his death. It has now turned into a 3-day event, complete with a street fair, antique car parade, and a James Dean look-alike contest. In 1987, on the 32nd anniversary of his death, over 20,000 people came from all over the country and the world. James Dean's presence is stronger now than at any other time since the 50s. His image appears everywhere and on almost everything. He left us with an attitude, a style, and a face that was so commanding, so timeless, it has now become part of our culture. February 8th, 1931, James Byron Dean is born in Marion, Indiana, during one of the darkest years of the Depression. Millions of workers are unemployed. Thousands have lost their homes and are relegated to bread lines and soup kitchens. The Deans are more fortunate. Jimmy's father, Winton, is a dental technician employed by the government. His safe job and steady paycheck will help insulate Jimmy from the harsh realities of the Depression. During this bleak time, Jimmy's mother, Mildred, introduces her son to the arts. She reads him her favorite poems, and as soon as he is old enough, she sends him for dancing lessons. Theirs is a very special relationship. As an only child, Jimmy receives a great deal of his mother's love and attention. When Jimmy is 5 years old, the government transfers his father to Los Angeles, California. In 1939, 3 years after the Deans moved to California, Jimmy's mother becomes ill with cancer. Confused and frightened by his mother's deteriorating condition, 9-year-old Jimmy watches helplessly as her beauty and energy fade. July 14th, 1940, 29-year-old Mildred Dean dies. Jimmy is devastated. Without his mother to care for him, it's decided that Jimmy should return to Indiana. His father will remain in California, and their relationship will never again be close. In Indiana, Winton's sister Hortense and her husband Marcus will now be the ones to raise Jimmy. Jimmy is sent back to Indiana with his grandmother on the same train that carries his mother's body. Every time they stop, Jimmy gets off and runs to the baggage car to make sure his mother's casket is still aboard. Her death leaves Jimmy embittered and abandoned. Later he will say, "My mother died on me when I was 9 years old. What does she expect me to do? Do it all alone?" When Jimmy arrives at his aunt and uncle's farm, the Winslows do whatever they can to help him get over his loss. As the months pass, Jimmy slowly accepts his new life on the farm. During this time, Aunt Hortense, a member of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, encourages Jimmy to perform at the Back Creek Church by giving readings on the evils of alcohol. At school, Jimmy asked Adeline Knoll, his drama teacher, to help him with his readings.
He was an unusual child. He was a precocious child. I knew that. He liked to perform. His grandmother told me that, Emma Dean. Said from the time he was just big enough to stand on a table or on a chair, he'd perform, give his readings. They all had to do with let's not drink, period. Temperance in all things.
Performing for the WCTU is the beginning of Jimmy's interest in dramatics. Although years later he will say, the way they had it, if you stepped on a grape, you would go to hell. For the next 9 years, Jimmy will grow up in this small Quaker community. His world will be this town and the Winslow's 180-acre farm. At school, Jimmy's diverse interests begin to show. He joins the band, becomes president of the Thespians, competes on the track team, and also plays baseball and basketball. Jimmy's boyhood friends recall what he was like.
You're talking about Jim